Hi there, and welcome back to Delali. At some point in our lives, there is a need for online correspondence while working on some project remotely. When that happens, we turn to one of many video conferencing apps. One of such apps is Zoom. Today, we'll look at the various ways we can set up Zoom for our everyday use. There are 3 ways by which you can set up Zoom. 1. Using the mobile app. 2. Using the desktop app. And 3. From a browser. Let's get into it. Let's begin with the web interface. To do so, we need to open a browser and head to zoom.us. So on the main page, you either sign up or sign in, which is both free. So you sign up if you are new to Zoom, and you can use your work email or your personal email, whichever email you want to use to set up Zoom. In my case, I've already set it up, so I would sign in with my Google account. And here I select my Google account. This is where we schedule meetings and send a link out to people. So the maximum capacity for free usage is 100 people. So to schedule a meeting, this is what you need to do. So you click new meeting. You give the meeting a name. It needs to have a purpose, right? So I could use the purpose of that meeting as the topic. So it's an online stakeholder meeting. So I could just state stakeholders meeting as the topic. Well, the description is not really necessary, but if you want, you can just copy and paste this here, and that is that. Or you can write a description, which is optional, by the way. So for the when part, this is when you select the date and time for the meeting. So we'll set the date to 8th at 10 a.m. in the morning for the meeting, and I think that is okay. So notice that your time duration you are allowed is 40 minutes for the basic plan, because we've not paid to use Zoom. And so I'll set it to 30 minutes because there's no 40 minutes in the options. For the time zone, you have to select where your wherever you stay belongs to. So for me, I'm in GMT, so I'll select the Greenwich Meridian time over here. If this is a recurring meeting, you click recurring. So let's say I want to have this meeting every day for 5 days. So today is 7th. I've set the meeting for tomorrow, which is 8th, but I want to have the meeting from 8th to 10th. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select recurring meeting and then say the meeting is once every day and it's going to last till the 10th. So I can select that and then I can continue, but in our case the meeting is not recurring, so I'll just turn that off. And then a meeting ID will be generated automatically. So this is checked already here. There's a meeting password for if someone wants to join the meeting, they will have to use a password to join the meeting. You could just send them a link and they will register and join the meeting. We'll look at that as we move forward. So it's good to leave this ones off just in case you start the video or you start the call and your video is on by default. You never know, maybe you might not be ready or you might not be in the right position when the video starts. So you might want to leave these options off for the meantime. You can change them as the call starts. So we can move forward. So for the audio, it's okay to leave this one at both, and that is pretty much it. So if you want your participants, those you are creating this meeting to share with, if you want them to be able to join the meeting when you haven't started the meeting, you can check this, and you can also mute participant upon entry, which is also a good idea, because when people join the call and the call is already ongoing, you don't want them distracting the call because their mic is on and there is some form of noise in their background. So you can also record a call, and this can be done automatically, or you can actually start this recording of call somewhere along the line while the call is taking place, or you can just set it here to start right from the beginning of the call based on what call it is. So after that, we just go ahead and select save So after creating the meeting, we see the summarized details of the meeting, which is the topic, the date and time, and we can add this meeting to our Google Calendar by clicking this button here. You can also see the meeting ID and then the password. But most importantly, we need to share this meeting with the respective people so they are aware that there is a meeting to take place tomorrow at such and such time. So to do that, we click copy the invitation, and we once again click copy meeting invitation. So you can see this pop up here about the text being copied, and then you can go ahead and paste the copied text in your email or on WhatsApp or in text message and send to the respective people. Now once that is done, let's take it, we are in the next day and it's few minutes to 10 a.m. and we want to start this meeting. So the next thing we do is we'll start the meeting by clicking this button here, and after waiting for a while, it's going to give us a number of options. So it's either we download the Zoom app for desktop and install it and use that to run the meeting, or we could just click here, which will present us with an option to start the meeting from the browser. In our case, we've not installed Zoom, so we will have to use the browser for now. Later on, we would look at how to set up the desktop app. So we'll click start from browser, and the first thing it will do is ask us to set up our audio for the call. So we will select join by computer audio, and once you do that, it will ask you to allow Zoom to use your microphone, which is also important to the call because you'll be talking, so you allow it. Okay, so once in the call, we can see that the mic is active but the video is not, because we chose that option while setting the call up. So now let's look at the various controls or the various things that we can do in the call, starting from the left. So over here we have the mic button. This means that we've muted the mic. By clicking the mic button to show the red line on it means that we've muted the mic, so whatever you are saying will not be heard by the people on the other side of the call. By clicking it for the red line to go away means that everyone can hear whatever you are saying. To select which specific mic you want to use, you can click on the arrow by the side of the mic and select which specific mic device you want to use, or it's always better to select same as system. So whichever mic your computer or system is using is what will be used for this call also. So by enabling the webcam, we can now see the video feed from our webcam, and you can select which input you want to use or which device you want to use as your source of video for your call. Alright, so next we have the invite button, which allows us to invite people by using just the link to the call or by using a more summarized write-up about the call. And we can send it through these mediums, or you can just copy the invitation and still paste it through WhatsApp or whichever platform you use in contacting your various team members. So with the manage participants option, this allows you to control what participants can do and cannot do with this manage participant option. So over here you can see I'm the host, and unfortunately I'm the only one in this call, and if I had a number of participants in here and someone's mic was unmuted and distracting the call, all I would do would be to click this mute all button, and this will mute every participant with the exception of me. This option here shows that allow participants to unmute themselves. So if you don't want participants to unmute themselves and continue talking during your session, uncheck this, and that would prevent them from unmuting themselves. So for them to unmute themselves, they will have to raise their hands, which is an option they as participants will also see as a button. So they click it, and then it will show a palm that they are raising their hands to ask a question or they want to say something. Then you can unmute them manually by yourself, and then they can talk. But if you want them to be able to unmute themselves and talk whenever they want, you can leave that checked. And under this more option, you see the same options I just spoke about, and this will also allow participants to rename themselves during the meeting. So as you can see my name here, they can also change theirs during the meeting. Let's move to the next one. So share screen allows me to share whatever I have on my screen at the time. So this is the option you use making some form of presentation, and you want the slides that are playing on your screen to show for other participants to also see. So in this case, you will have to click share entire screen, or you can select the option to share a specific application window, or you want to share a particular tab in a browser. These are the options available to you. So if you want to share your entire screen, you click this one and you click share, which will start sharing your screen instantly. So I would click it. As it shows right now, I'm sharing my screen. So whatever I'm doing here with my mouse, clicking and opening my Chrome and all, everyone can see that. So you can stop sharing when you want and you can continue with what you are doing. So with this option, this allows participants to share their screen just as we are also able to share our screens. With the chat section of the meeting, it allows people to send some form of textual correspondence between themselves and you, the host, or between themselves and the rest of the people on the call. As you can see, if I type a message here, this message goes to everyone on this call. As you can see with the everyone by it. But if I wanted to go to a specific person, I would have to click the everyone, and if there were other people on the call, there would be a list of names in this option, and then I can select the person the message should go to. Anything I type will now go to the person. So that's that for the chat section. So when you are done with the meeting, all you need to do will be to click the leave meeting button, which would ask you to either end the meeting or just leave the meeting. What happens with the end meeting is the meeting comes to an end altogether, where all the participants are dropped from the call. So the meeting is over. But for the leave meeting, you are the only one dropped from the call, and the rest of the participants or team members or people in the call with you can continue having the meeting. Now that we are done using the web app, we would want to close it by ending the meeting. So there are instances where you want to start a meeting, but not necessarily by scheduling it. You want to have that meeting right at that moment. So what you do is you go up here to host a meeting, and then you select one of these three options, which is start a meeting without a video, with a video, and just share your screen. We want to start a meeting with a video, so we just click start a meeting with video, which would load and bring us to this very same screen once again. So over here, you either select one of the available options, which is to download the Zoom desktop client and install it, and then use the client to have your meeting, or you can click this option to use your browser to start the meeting. We'll click the browser once again, just like before. It will ask us to join using our computer audio. The meeting has started. So then you can once again go to invite and copy the URL or copy the invitation for the meeting and share it to the respective people. And when the meeting is done once again, you can just end the meeting just like before. Next, let's look at how to set up webinars. Notice that I can't set up a webinar because I don't have a paid account. So from here you can see what are some of the advantages of using the webinar. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at the plans and pricing for Zoom. So for the pricing and plans, you can see there is a free or basic one, which is the one we are using right now for part of this tutorial. And so you can see the pro version, you can see the business version, and you can see the enterprise version. You can see the various advantages and support structures in place for each of the profiles. I have a paid account for work, which I would use to demonstrate the webinar part, and then we can move on to using the desktop app for doing the same things we've done so far. So we go to the account and we log out. This time around, I'm going to log back in with a paid account. Alright, so to schedule a webinar, we click schedule a webinar button, and just like we scheduled the meeting earlier in this video, we type a topic for the meeting, and then we also input a description for the meeting, the time, and then the date for the meeting. We go ahead and select the duration of the meeting, and notice this time around it does not give us a limit to how much time we can use in the meeting, unlike before. And we can set our time zone, and then if this meeting is a recurring one, we can select up to what date it is recurring, and then we can proceed to select whether people who should join this webinar, which in this case would be probably a large group of people. We want to select whether they will register to join the seminar or not. So over here, if you check the registration button, you can see that it gives you a number of options. Based on my experience over the past few months using this platform, selecting attendees register once and can attend any of the occurrences has worked well. The next is the webinar password, and the rest of the settings just as before. So at this point, you can see a number of options which are a little bit different from what we had when we were scheduling the meeting earlier. So over here, because it's a webinar, there's questions and answers, so you can enable that or not, and you can enable whether you should have a practice session with your participants or not. In this case, you have selected up here that people should register before they can join the webinar, so I don't think it is going to be a problem to leave this unchecked. And then the next part is to record the webinar. So do you want to record the webinar in the cloud, or do you want to record it locally on your computer? Also, if you have other team members who are helping you with this webinar and you would like to make them hosts so that they can lead the session in your absence, you can add their email here. But those people you are going to add, or those team members you are going to add, should also have a paid account just like you, else it will not allow them to join. So I have a number of scheduled calls already, so let's just take this mobile phone photography webinar. There's an extra row down here where you can email the invitation to yourself, and you can also copy the invitation to the call. And as you can see here, because it's a paid account, it will allow up to 500 attendees in this webinar. So that is how to go about creating a webinar, scheduling and hosting a meeting on the web. So let's proceed to look at how to do the very same things we've done from the desktop client. To install the desktop app, we need to first open a browser. In the browser, we visit zoom.us/download. So over here we download the Zoom client for meetings, so which is the first option over here on this list. So download, and after a short while it should finish. It's just about 10 megabytes. So we run, allow. It takes about 10 seconds to install, and then after that we can sign in using the account we created earlier, or you can sign up on Zoom in the browser and then sign in here. So we will go ahead and sign in. Once again, we'll use our Gmail. So now that we are done, this is the interface for the Zoom client. So when the software is done installing, this is the interface. This is the same option we saw when we in the browser went to start a meeting, where we could start the meeting with a video or without a video. And this was the other option where we could start the meeting by sharing our screen. This part is where we schedule a meeting, which is just like we did in the browser. You enter a topic, you choose the date and time, the duration of the meeting, whether the meeting is recurring or not. You set up the meeting ID, and then you set the password that should be required while joining the meeting, and then the audio preference, and then whether you want to use a Google Calendar or other related calendars, and then you can schedule the meeting. And just like that, that's how the desktop app works. So it's not very complicated, it's just as simple as the web version. And this also allows you to join some already existing meeting. To configure the settings for your microphone and video, you click the little icon here and allows you to change your settings for video, and then you can go to audio and then leave it at same as system. To use the Zoom app on your phone, we first need to install the Zoom app. So let's proceed to the App Store. Now let's search for the Zoom app. There it is, and then we download, and we'll go ahead and open. So right away we can join a meeting, or we can sign up or sign in, just as we did with the web interface. So we'll go ahead and sign in, and we are going to use our Google account once again. So we continue with the Google account. So just as we did with the web interface, we'll select one of these accounts, and so we'll select this one, we'll have to allow the app to send us notifications and alerts. We'll allow the app to also access our calendar. In the top section, you can see the new meeting, join meeting, schedule meeting, and share screen, just like we saw with the web interface and with the desktop app. So we can just go ahead here and perform some tasks. So let's say we want to create a meeting. This is how we go about it. We'll just select new meeting with the video on, and then we just start a meeting. Kindly give us a thumbs up if you learned something here today. If you are new to this channel, subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay in touch. See you next time.